Hi YouTube, we're here with the ASH26 by CMPro, and we're just working today on the canopy. Got the top and the bottom attached already, and we're just getting ready to mount a little piece to receive the recently attached canopy hatch release. So as you know from the last video, we got a bunch of epoxy in here. We'll probably put a little extra in there today. And what I was racking my brain trying to figure out is how can I possibly locate where these little plastic things, the drawing shows that you're supposed to use these on the inside of the rear of the canopy here. So you've got these three little pieces. But I just couldn't for the life of me figure out how in the heck am I going to line that up, because this stuff, believe me, it is not perfect. As a result, you're left making a bunch of guesses on where to put all this stuff. And I'm not real keen to making a bunch of guesses about this. So until all this stuff dries, you're really just doing guesswork on where that's going to end up. So I had an idea finally on how I could do this, and I want it to fit tight, and I may end up using some magnets to supplement. So you can see that's pretty close right there, where it seems like when you were to release it you'd be able to take it out. Well, I don't even know if I'm going to reach all the way in. So I came up with a plan, and that's what we're going to execute right now. And this is a piece of foam, just out of an ultra micro box. I'm going to take a hot knife, and I'm going to show you my plan. When I say a hot knife, I just mean a piece of hot steel. This is a 20,000 shim that I've just over time broken for other reasons. I'm just going to cut a little shape. Nothing special. And I got to try to mimic the shape of the... Oh, I really miserably fell on that, didn't I? I'm going to try to closely mimic the shape of the top of the canopy there. What we're going to use is we're going to use this as our plug to determine our exact placement, in hopes that we can turn around and then use the provided pieces to locate. Okay, so that's pretty close. And remember, this is just if you do this, always put the hot end on the right spot, or you end up burning yourself. And I'm sure there's more than one way to skin this cat, guys, but this is the way I've figured out for today. I was also thinking I could use some of that tack that you stick on the wall, you know, to hold up a poster. But then I thought that's not going to really tell me where to locate this. You kind of need a fairly good position. And so then I hope to tape it in. Obviously I can't glue it in. I could maybe put a couple of spots of CA. And this is foam, of course, so we'd have to use a foam safe CA. That might not be a bad option, rather than using tape. The tape may or may not hold, but we're going to try the tape first. We'll see if that gives us enough. And in case you guys were wondering, I've not so much taken a break intentionally on this. It's just that I've had other projects that have come up. And incidentally, I'll give you guys a first look. I've got some other projects down here. There's 2 planes down there. So we'll be getting ready to start those here shortly. But they're not like new release planes or anything that's time sensitive like the UMXs that I've been working on lately. Those little ultra micros when they first come out. Seems like people like to watch the videos when they're first out. Okay, so I've got that taped in there. Again, this is nothing permanent. This is just to help me locate the position for those pieces. Okay, so I need to pull this pin back. I may have to transfer some ink on there too. Okay, so that was kind of a no-brainer. Obviously we're going to be going into this area here, which again, this is why we're doing this, just to really know where we're supposed to be. It doesn't need to be strong, it just needs to be there so it can receive a mark. Okay, so now I'm afraid this is not going to have enough resiliency, so we'll cut a different size plug that'll fit up in there. So we have this. If I would have got it right the first time, it might have been a little bit easier. I'm actually just going to glue it this time. I think it's going to work, and then I can break it off when I'm done. So I'll just put a little bit of CA here, and then that extra texture, it may actually help to hold things together. Just gonna squish that in there. And we'll just do a little teeny bit of kicker here. And let that get to work. So now that's in there pretty solidly. So what we're going to do next is we'll take, I don't know why I always end up using a blue marker. There's nothing special about it. You could use paint. Probably wouldn't want to use an enamel because the enamel would be messy. But you could use any paint you want. I'm going to use this blue marker. This one seems to transfer well. And so that's held in there nicely. Of course, that's temporary. And so, I mean, as you can see, that thing penetrates out. And I just want to see the outline of exactly where this is going to hit. And this is strictly so I can get it built. Okay, so we'll drop this down in there. Get it exactly where we think we want it. We want it to be tight. Okay, and then we're going to push that in. Hopefully that penetrated into the foam. And you know what? I'm not 100% sure it's actually reaching far enough. I'm trying to kind of visualize this. Looks like it's probably not reaching. Which is weird. Or it's pushing it out of the way, one or the other. Or we're just too low. Yeah, we're just too low, guys. Okay, so this is why I figured I was going to end up having to do this. Okay, so those little pieces of that little piece of foam isn't going to be necessary because it's too small. We'll take heat. We're going to cut another chunk. Of course, I laid this thing where hot glue was sitting. That was super smart. Get that heated up. So we need to get about an inch worth of material there. Just wiping that hot glue back off of there, just a little bit that was left. Okay, and then we'll cut right here. It's super easy to do that. You probably want to go in too tight of a spot, which end up having pretty stinky air. Okay. Just kind of freehand that shape. Okay, so you can see we've got this pseudo shape here. So we'll just kind of squish it until we get it where we want. We need a little bit of resilience on this so that it'll receive that pressure from the device that sticks out there. Okay, that should get us plenty far down. And back to the medium. This is just medium, Bob Smith Industries, CA, nothing special. Just whatever will work quick. And hold it. And we'll sand that down here when we're ready to get everything attached together anyway. Okay, and I'm going to apply the kicker to the foam this time. I really want it to go this way. I feel like we're going to get a better bond. And this is super, super lightweight in case you would actually decide to use something like this. Of course, if we did that, we would want to laminate. We would want to laminate the piece of foam with probably some fiberglass, or in my case, I'd probably use like paper towel and CA, something really simple. Okay, so now we're going to try this again. This thing's really solid now. Solid enough to give us a mark at least. Okay, so I'll lay this in here. Ooh, yeah. I can tell I hit the foam. Guys, I have my bump finally. This is kind of a big moment for me. It seems like such an arbitrary thing, but that stupid little mark there has been very heavy on my heart because I don't know how to do this stuff. I'm just learning. Some of these building techniques are just very weird. So I'm just melting away the unused foam. I'm actually quite tempted to just make my own support now, because I don't know if I trust this chintzy setup here. But as you can see, now that we have that little detent, I'm actually colored in so you guys can see better on the camera. There's your blue mark, okay? They didn't transfer, but I could see the mark into the foam just fine. So now obviously we would want to clean that up if you're going to keep it. But as you can see, now we can really locate exactly where these need to go. And we can really confirm exactly the position that we need them in, which it looks like it just needs to go in there like that. Like, why couldn't they just show that on the drawing? Because they really did not make that clear. So I think on this one, it's really tough too, because if you use a 15-minute epoxy or 5-minute epoxy even, you're going to have a heck of a time locating this exactly where you want. If I do CA, that's all hunky-dory too, until you have to actually go and do it. See, when they go at an angle like this, if you get too steep of an angle, as this goes to slide onto the shaft, it's actually a nice tight fit. Okay, but remember, it's going to be out here. So we're only going to be catching maybe the outside piece. So it's kind of a tough question. I'd really like them to be nice and vertical like this, if we can make it work that way somehow. So maybe a little bit of an angle like that. So what I can do now is maybe I can make some marks and transfer. I'll just keep one of these. They're all the same size. So now I can take and position it like this. I wish I could get a really good mark on there, but I don't know if I can. Maybe if I take a sharp knife, I can make a mark. See, I already scraped this to make texture, but since it's black, it's really hard to see the marks. And I don't have a wax pen. See my 2 scrape marks there, guys? That might be satisfactory. Okay, I think I know what I'm going to do, or at least I'm going to try to do. Okay. Alright, so I took out that little bit of foam, and then I can take this after it's cooled just a second. I don't want to damage my plastic at all. Okay, so now that I have that out of there, that will help me to hold this in just like this, and I can really get a good fit now. Guys, I'm sure there's probably some awesome method that you all have tried. Oops. Goodness gracious. That went way under there. They never just fall right on the ground. They just go like completely under the thing. Okay, so now that's going to hold for me. Okay, so I just want it to hold enough so I can get the test. So I'm going to hold it opened. I'll push this down. It's got a nice clean fit still. And then I'm going to let it latch. And I'm going to pull it back and I'm going to lift it. It didn't move any of it, guys. So we're either going in. I am so tempted to just use CA on this. And just CA the living crap out of it. And who cares about the foam? The foam's not going to bother anybody. If I use epoxy, I could epoxy this whole face and then make a transition. I wonder how much room I have, because obviously I've got a little bit of thickness here, but that's going to help to kind of hold things tight. I'd really rather not have it that way. So let me go ahead and alleviate that concern right now. I'm just going to take and machine this down a little bit. Okay, so just melting that until it's flush with the surrounding material. But I want enough to keep holding things. Okay, lick the finger, make sure it's not melting anymore. Good, it's not. Now we've got a nice clean fit. We got that vertical face that we were looking for earlier, talking about. Put this in, let go. Yep, they all dropped. That's exactly what I wanted to happen. That means that it was pinned in there into two of them. Okay, so now I just need to flip the plane over to knock the little pieces out. Got one. Where did the second one go? I'm going to pause it and find it. I'll come right back, guys. Okay, I found the third one. It just fell down in a different spot than I was looking. No big deal. Okay, so now that I have this material here to kind of hold things together, I have the level of confidence I had been initially looking for to get this stuff glued together. So these surfaces have all been scraped so that I have good texture to receive the epoxy between each plane. And I'm probably going to go ahead and take and heat the tip of this again. Okay. If you guys are wondering, I have an exhaust vent in my shop that I can use if I get a little excessive with that. Okay. Perfect. So we didn't quite make it through. I wanted to make some strong texture there too, though. Okay, so now I can get my knife, use the back side of my knife just to knock off some of this material. It's actually probably good material for texture, but it's really then we're going to defeat the bond of the epoxy. Obviously the epoxy bond should be stronger than that of CA. Okay, so whoops. Okay, so we've got that done. Now time to mix up a little CA, or not CA, we're going to mix up some 15-minute epoxy. Come right back with some gloves. Okay, so we got gloves. So we're not going to need a lot today. We'll just do even parts here. Now it might seem like I'm doing a lot right now from looking at that. And the reason it looks like a lot is because you're probably not thinking about between those three pieces each. I gotta do a little bit between each of them too. And then what's left over is not going to be wasted. We'll go ahead and use that in along the little lock mechanism. Okay, so we'll put that aside. I might need a little bit more of this. And I just try to get my blobs about the same size. I don't ever pay attention to the sides because I don't go through enough of it. Okay, so we'll get this mixing. While I'm mixing that, I'm going to go look at the time. Okay, so it's 3:32. So if it's 3:32, then 3:45. I should be totally done with this. Obviously, it's not going to take that long to do this, but okay, so we just get this into a creamy consistency. And there you have it. Okay, so that's good enough for me. If you mix it better, you'll have a little better results. This is actually an epoxy mixing tool. Now I don't want to gum up the holes, so I'm going to just be careful the way I apply this to each of these pieces. I'm going to try to start with the back piece. Like I said, I don't want to gum up the holes, so I'm just going to scrape them cleanish. I mean, I don't want to completely clean it, but I want to clean it enough so that the hole is literally not filled with the epoxy. That's what I'm trying to avoid. Because if it's filled with epoxy, it ain't going to do too much good for us. And then we'll have to remove it, and it's going to be really challenging to do that. You're probably thinking, with a drill, Brian, that's how you do it. It'll take 3 seconds. Yeah, right. I'm sure. It's never as easy as you think it's going to be. This is an elongated hole. It's not just a round hole. So it'd be hard to get a drill bit in there, especially with this really delicate piece of irreplaceable plastic made in China. Okay, so we're just gonna slather that there. Do a little bit on the top. Now on the sides, we're gonna be up against this foam. So at the moment, we're gonna do our best to just got to be really careful how I handle this. I didn't think about it in time, but I should have had something to lay that on. So now I can just stick that in there. Like I said earlier, I really wish I could do this with just CA. It'd be so much easier. CA is just a ton easier in so many different facets. And one thing I've heard is that you can hold things together with CA and then you can go back and add some epoxy to the critical points, but I've never really felt like you get the advantage of epoxy if you do that. I could probably be wrong on that, but I just really need this to be held up at a different angle. So in order to do that, I'm going to grab one of these things and let it cradle the canopy. Actually, I'm going to grab this thing instead. That's why I always keep this stuff around, guys. There's a million uses for this. This is like soft foam out of a power supply. I work on industrial scales for a living. Oh, look at that. That works good. Okay. So now we can really get at it good. And I don't have to have my hands in this stuff. So now I'm just kind of, or if I do get my hands in it, it's not such a big deal. Okay, so I want to coat that with the epoxy, paying special attention not to get too crazy on the bottom here. If I get too thick, then what will happen is I may actually bind with the edge of the fuselage where the canopy is received. Okay, do you see what I'm doing here? I'm basically saying yes to the foam. I'm saying yes, I'm going to keep you around. Now I can melt that out later too, and I can take the epoxy with it if I decided to, because this is, this is weight. Weight is bad. Weight is the enemy of all things airplane, except for CG. If you need to get the CG right, put the weight on the plane. I don't care if it's a battery, if it's something else. I usually prefer not to have dead weight. I prefer to use my lipo to give me more flight time as well. At the same time, kind of a 2-for-1. I know some of you are probably cringing as I go over this foam. I kind of am myself inside, thinking, gosh, I hope it doesn't cause me problems later. But you know what? It worked really good to locate this thing. And so if I do it right, it shouldn't cause me any problems, beside the obvious little teeny tiny extra bit of weight. Okay, so remember I was trying to keep that hole clean, so here in a minute I'll take a Q-tip and I'll verify that that's going to stay clean. Okay, I'll give you guys a shot of the back side of that too. Okay, so this last little bit, I got a little void here. It seems like I'm missing. Now, Bob Smith Industries says that their 15-minute epoxy is their most flexible. So if you decided you'd rather not do their most flexible epoxy here, I wouldn't blame you. But you got to keep in mind that this is going to be kind of like a high-use thing, and you want to make sure you get it held in there one way or another. So much for keeping the hole clean, right? Okay, so now I'm going to take this Q-tip for my garbage. I'm going to take these scissors. I'm going to cut the tip of it off. And then I'm going to immediately clean out that schmutz in there. Yes! Got it. Okay. Excuse me. I guess turning your head when you're mounted to the camera doesn't do a whole lot. Okay, so now I'm just going to spread the epoxy. We have 15 minutes to work with it, but obviously toward the end of the 15 minutes it's pretty much set. So I'm going to take and spread this. You see what I'm doing? I'm just kind of trying to make it at least smooth. And then here in a minute I'll probably flip this thing over and let the epoxy rest. That's one thing that epoxy does sometimes a little bit better than if you're just comparing it to CA, is that it will tend to not run quite as bad in most cases, because of course it's setting up and becoming very thick and viscous. Okay, so now I think I want to toss that. Of course it almost shot on the ground. Why would it just go straight into the garbage, you know? Now I'm going to take it, this is a fresh one here. So we're going to spin it, get it coated. Oh yeah, that stuff is getting super tacky. That's what I want. I want it to be super tacky. Now I'm going to take and just verify that I've got a nice spread and maximize that surface area. Okay. And then the whole objective for me on this is to maximize the surface area so that the contact point is spread out among this huge area here. So even if I get like one weaker patch, I'm still going to keep a good connection point. Okay, so we don't want to... that was stuck to the other side of the scissors. Jeez. Okay. Get off of there. The joys of working with epoxy. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this and clean the hole out and also reposition so that all that stuff lines up just the way we think we want it. Now we've already tested this a bunch, so we know it's going to hold. Now we just need to make a decision as to whether or not we're going to add some more. And I think right now the decision's probably made for us because this epoxy is set. So now what we have to do is the hardest part in model building, and it's called waiting. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. We'll come back for some more on this soon.